Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to Having a Voice on Android. How hard can it be? I'm glad to be here today. My name is Paul Louis, and it's a joy to be back in London, where I was working at SwiftKey, building their predictive keyboard a few years ago. I'm now at Algolia, building a search API and discovery API to help your users find what they're looking for. We're working in Paris, and I've been designing tools for Android developers for the last 3 years, including Instant Search Android, or Toolbox, to create great search experiences. And I've been now focusing for a couple years on the intersection of search engine and natural language. What if your users could ask your app for some content, just like they can ask a friend? Over the last few years, we've seen the rise of conversational interfaces. And since then, I spent quite some time exploring voice UX, especially on mobile. To be honest, it feels like mobile app development in 2008. Everybody wants to do it, but not everyone knows why or how to do it right. Now you might be wondering, is it really the time to put efforts into voice? Some think it's a fad, that it's been put everywhere without really thinking about it. And this feeling is legitimate. But just like in 2008, where everybody wanted an app, the fact that not everyone knows how to do it doesn't mean there isn't value in exploring this area. And we know this new frontier since a long time. Some people have been, like Karen Koshenski, working for 20 years on voice-enabled interfaces. Yet, it is just now that the building blocks are coming together. Starting with speech-to-text, obviously. We have reliable speech-to-text only since a few years. And that was nothing without enjoyable text-to-speech. It's been only recently that the synthetic voices are enjoyable to hear. This, combined with the pervasive presence of internet, brought the rise of APIs, which let us build powerful solutions by using composable tools to build upon. And the last piece of the puzzle is our users. They are being educated by assistants that appear everywhere. And not only our current users are coming to voice, new users are arriving to our apps through this channel. Think about the kids or any person that cannot know how to read and speak, how to read and write. They can still speak, and they might access your service if you offer them a new way to communicate with you. Likewise, people with disabilities. You might have seen the keynote this morning about making guitar accessible to people that are deaf or that are blind. I have my grandpa Jacques. He loves audiobooks, he loves radio, but he can barely see anymore. And today he couldn't use a mobile app. But this might change, because with these building blocks, we are at this new frontier of user experience. And users speak for themselves. 71% of users would rather search by voice than search by typing on their mobile keyboard. So this new frontier has a lot to give to those that are willing to explore what voice can bring to our applications. So we see a lot of mobile apps running into this new frontier. And suddenly, all our favorite apps change. We see voice button, assistants, new permissions appearing. But do these really improve our users' experience? Ultimately, this talk is about a single thing: intentional design, not leaving your user experience to chance. Because it's all about our users. We all want to follow Paul Graham's advice of make something people want. And this means we need user-centered design. Our users, they just want the app to work. What does this mean for us? Well, it's a challenge, because voice is a new word. Of course, smart speakers and any voice-only interface are a completely new domain. But even voice-enabled mobile apps, it's still something quite new. There's a new input mode. Users will speak instead of typing. What does that mean for all the adaptations that we had in place around typing, like typo tolerance? There's this new output mode as well. You can talk to your users out loud. And this can change a lot in how you present information to them What's your information hierarchy going to look like when there is both a screen and a speech? But this is not only about input and output, because voice brings a new context. Users are suddenly able to use your service in all the situations where their hands are busy or where they don't look at the screen. And this can change a lot in what the experience you're offering to them. Which means that adding voice doesn't always improve the app. It can actually make it worse. So, show of hands, how many of you know the Nielsen-Norman group? A few hands. So Nielsen-Norman are a group of consultants that are kind of the king of user experience studies. They do a lot of analysis on what makes or breaks a website or an app. And on voice, they've been saying that new technologies, and voice in particular, must make things faster and easier in order to be viable replacements to existing tools. So what does such viable replacement look like? We're going to have a look through the eyes of a user. Because today our users see many voice-enabled apps, some that are carefully thinking how design can help their users, and some that are just hurrying into implementation. Can we learn from their experience, if not mistakes? We'll have a look at voice-enabled mobile interfaces to see what works and what doesn't. And we'll find learnings for our next application. Of course, we're going to start with disappointments, because this is something that can be challenging. But bear with me, because these challenges are actually not that hard to overcome. So first thing first, it all starts when your users discover there is a voice feature. Sometimes button. And this was totally unrelated. It's the rules of golf application. But I think it can improve and be very subtle. Can you notice the voice feature in this screen? Some? OK, well, top right, it's white on gray, it's outlined, it's a small icon, but it's a microphone. And honestly, it's fine if it's on purpose. Maybe you don't want all your users to try this new feature. Maybe you only want the tech-savvy, the adventurers, to beta test your user experience. And at least you recognize what you see when you see it. Because other times, you just see a weird UI. But what does a user do when they see a big red button? They press it. And then Databot explains its features in character, role-play style, or should I say role-play style, and a don't even suspect a voice feature until the moment I scroll on SoundHound and oh, whoa, there is an it tells me, try saying OK Hound. Let's try. OK Hound. OK Hound? OK Houndy? Hound? Bon, OK. Honestly, I tried 5 minutes on this one. And then I realized there was an underline on OK Hound. Let's tap. It activates an assistant. And so I might it actually shows an example. Play top songs by Bruno Mars. I probably won't do that. But often it's more straightforward. I open app search by voice. I kind of have an idea what I can say to this app. I'm probably going to search my apps. Other times it's not obvious, but they make it so. When you open Lyra Assistant, you are onboarded. It gives you examples of what you could do. And telling me what to expect, it sets me up for success. I also notice something. There is multimodality. I can speak, but I can also type. And we'll see later how important that is. Because if you offer more input modes, if you offer more so they will come back, and they are more likely to become recurrent users of your app. And when I open the search, I see a microphone, and I see trending suggestions. I guess I'll try that. This is how our users find their first disappointments. On this example, the first trending query I saw when I opened the app was Nike Air Max 2000. All right, Nike Air Max 2000. It recognizes me, I see it written, and there's nothing on the screen. OK, let's try searching my apps. At least I know what I can do there. I say Merriam-Webster to get the dictionary. And I see all my apps. OK, I'll open the dictionary manually and then use voice search. So I press the hidden button. I ask, what's a tweet storm? I see tweet storm, and nothing happens. OK, that's a bit confusing. And our user is legitimate to feel disappointed. So they just go home. And being a 2019 customer, they likely have a couple smart thingies around, like smart bulbs, smart fridge, whatnot. So there is this app, Smart Life, that helps you control all your smart stuff. And I'm very happy because I have a few light bulbs at home that I'm glad to connect and control in an easy way. And you notice there is a weird but recognizable mic button. I press it, I get advice. Bright and light? Come on, there. You're the one who told me I could try bright and light. Why does the example of the app not actually work? And that's not the worst. I tried turn on light, and the error was no light added, please add one. I have 3 lights already, like, what do you mean, please add one? That's a very pushy sales strategy. But anyway, this didn't work. On the other side of error handling, Lyra Assistant, when I ask it a dumb question like, what is an assistant? It answers, I'm sorry, but at least it heard me right. I know what it can do and what it cannot, and users' expectations are set at the right level. And our users are persistent, so eventually, they meet their first successes. So back to the sneakers shopping app. I'm still craving for these Air Max sneakers. I'll try harder. And indeed, I remember that I saw my query. What if I tap? There's a keyboard. What if I press enter? Actually, there are results. So there was a mic button, and I could speak, but ending my sentence was not considered as submitting the query. Was that ever tested by a user? Discovering this, our users get a new hope. Maybe there is something for them in these applications afterwards. They just need to try harder. Let's go back to Merriam-Webster and just say tweets. Now we're talking. And not only I see what I speak, when it gets me wrong, it shows what other things I could have said. That's a good usage of speech-to-text APIs, which often return several results with confidence scores. So let's retry app search. I'm going to say something simpler, Samsung. This time it works. So now I understand. When my input was unrecognized, they showed me all my apps as a fallback. It makes sense, but if we don't explain the fallback to our users, it will be more confusing than not seeing anything. On the other side, because Lyra was displaying my previous input, I know I can try any question, and I will see if it works or not. So I get ambitious. What's the distance between Paris and London? And it replies. And it replies by leveraging the ecosystem. It gets the question, but it differs the answer to Wolfram API that gives it superpowers. And that's quite cool. But when the app doesn't work, our user is on their own to figure out. With Smart Life, when I tried to turn on my lights, it didn't work. So I tinkered around. And I realized that turn on the light could work if I rename my light the light. So Smart Life understood turn on the light as turn on the light identifier. And is there no light with this name? They don't tell me no light with this name. They tell me, please add one. Makes no sense. It needs more user testing. Because once it works, our users feels powerful. They can command machines with their voice. So now they want to do more. They get more ambitious. SoundHound, they're going to ask, what else can you do? And they implemented this quite nicely. So when you ask what it can do, it gives you examples. Not only that, It gives examples as a list for us to dive into, but there's also on top a video format demoing the feature for the cool kids who want to see animated stuff. And there's something for everyone, and they maximize the chance that all users will use the feature. And sometimes it's great because the users, they're already users of some of your features. SoundHound, I use it whenever I'm wondering what a song might be. And I know they have a feature showing a map where every identified song is pinpointed, so you can see what people listen around you. So let's try. What are people listening to around me? No results found. But wasn't there the map feature in the examples earlier? It was, except they expect me to say, what are people sound-hounding around me? And okay, I saw the examples, I got the feature. But most of the users, they will try, fail, and never retry. This is a missed opportunity to get new users of your map feature by dragging the people who are trying voice. We can contrast this with Lyra. When I ask harder questions, what's the highest elevation in Europe? It works. And if I ask it in a more natural way, can you tell me the highest elevation in Europe, please, Lyra? It works as well, because they know all the words of the input are not equal, and so they can find the signal in the noise. This is key if you want a real conversation. But of course, in a conversation, sometimes we talk over each other. This is what we call babble, a confusion of sounds and voices. I can give you an example. The first conversational app I built a few years ago, I was using manually speech-to-text and text-to-speech. It was nice. You ask it music advice, what do you know about love? And it tells you about Elvis Presley and California love. Except that when the app was talking back to you, if you press the button again, it started listening to itself, which could be fun, comical even, but not what you want during a product demo. So how do you avoid babble? You just choose what you want. Either you implement it as the assertive person that will keep talking no matter what happens, or you want to be the polite helper that always listens to the user. Both are fine, as long as you choose. Taking Lyra, whenever I interrupt her and say, no, actually, I'm thinking big. What's the biggest mountain of the whole world? It diligently stops talking, listens to me, and answers the new query. And this is great, but the other way works as well. When using Databot, it's talking to me, and I press the voice button. I see a toast. Please wait, I am completing another activity assigned. I trust you, the sound is exactly like that if you put on the headphones. And that's okay, that's fine. Anything good, and anything is better than letting the user speak without being heard. And as the users learn how to use our app, it starts solving a frequent pain point or reducing friction to accomplish their tasks. The dictionary, that's a great use case. Whenever I don't know what a word means, I might not know how to type it. So being able to spawn my phone, say a word, and get a definition, the best case scenario is really low friction. And even the not so best case scenario when did you mean tonight or tenant? I encountered these a lot, as you can guess from my accent. And it's fine. Good usage of speech-to-text. We're going to see several results, and I'm happy to press the right button and get the definition. It's still very low friction for a failure case. And that's a general pattern. In these cases, we should help the users get back on track. This is Alice, the assistant built by Yandex, the Russian search engine. And when asking Alice if she could get me a cab from the Kremlin to the Hermitage Museum, she doesn't tell me you don't have a Yandex taxi account. She says, yes, sure. Then she opens a web view, and she pre-fills all the fields that she knows about. So she fills my name if I have told her. She fills my start and end of the journey. And I just have to create an account and enter my credit card. How convenient. And with all these conveniences, our user becomes a regular. Maybe because your app is always there for them. Take Lyra. It answers many things, but it also leverages installed apps. If I ask the directions from Paris to London, it's just going to trigger an implicit intent, and show me whatever navigation app I have installed. And this is really satisfying. The user is probably hooked on that. Or maybe they're simply coming back because you give them the shortest path to their satisfaction. The smart life is a good example. I'm turning on and off my bulbs daily. So when they see you use the voice feature, they propose to add a shortcut to the home screen. And for something I use daily, it's great. It's going to lower the friction as much as possible. And ultimately, your app becomes a part of the user's life, and they get attached to it. In the case of Lyra, the attachment is very transactional. Users are very happy to interact with it first, because either it's the shortest path, or it's going to fall back to one of your apps, and that's going to be great. And when users are attached to your app, you can leverage it, like some do, to sprinkle some personality. Take Databot. It's a fun, weirdo, cyberpunk assistant. It's often a bit dumb, but I kinda like its style. Even the errors are in character, like bug, anomaly, problem, sorry master, next time I will do it. And the fact that there is a personality makes me more forgiving in accepting that it can make mistakes. It is human after all. The persona can be quite different. When you use Yandex's Alice, you notice that she's not like Alexa or Google Assistant. She's not at all submissive. If you ask her several times the same question, she gets pissed, and she tells you, don't you have something better to do? Likewise, she corrects my grammatical errors, which sounds a bit obnoxious at first, but then you realize it's part of her personality. She's a teacher. She's there to help me navigate a complex word. She can even give you the dictate. So she speaks a long text, you type it, and at some point she will grade you on how good you did typing. So they really went far into this teacher mindset. But it's fine. It's what makes it unique and what makes our users remember it among a sea of apps. So we've seen quite a lot of examples. And you might have noticed that they often succeed or fail for the same reasons. That's because their UX relies on common principle. First, we all have the same basic requirement when we're building an app. It's making it accessible, designing it for everyone that could want to use our service. That's the first challenge, just getting users on board, which means educating them, telling them what they can do. SoundHound proposed, try saying, OK, Hound, because I might not even guess I can speak to that. Likewise, we need to explain our domains. Don't use too specific vocabulary, like sound-hounding. People will ask for listening to, and you can either onboard them or not. Your call. But you won't tell them to say sound-hounding if they don't use your app. So telling users how to use our system is great. But it's even better if we offer them several ways to converse. You can say, OK, Hound, but you can also tap. And if you have a shitty accent like me, you might still be using our service. Lyra had a button for voice, but also text input. And so we're used to using it more and more. Having an option for every kind of user is great. And it brings me to the next advice we found. Know thy user persona. Not everyone thinks alike. If you have something for everyone, video instructions for some, good old list for the others, you make sure that nobody feels left out. So now we know our users. We know what they expect. Do they know what we expect? Hence, the next finding of our journey, making it clear how the conversation goes. Either never interrupt, or justify yourself when you do. I am not finished. This is fine. Anything better than let the user keep speaking and not being heard. However, it's only a conversation if the user feels they are being heard, which means we should always acknowledge the user input. And you see how this is a rule that doesn't appear from voice. Like, it's already important in design in apps in general. But when the only feedback you get is seeing a blank screen, that's very disappointing. When an error happened, you want to show your users why, instead of wondering what just happened. With these last two tips, we have the potential for a real conversation. But we won't realize that potential until we handle natural phrasing. To the example of the light bulbs, if I name my lamp ceiling, and I say turn on ceiling, it's fine. But if I say turn on the ceiling, it doesn't work. And that's frankly disappointing. Contrast to what's the highest elevation in Europe, my dear, where Lyra was able to understand the natural language enough. So now we have these tips in practice. We can be confident our users are accessing our apps. The next level is to make them feel in control, and so to help our users accomplish what they want to achieve. We're back to make something people want. What does it mean in practice? It means to simplify your user's life. If your app is about daily recurring tasks, like Smart Life, make them easy. Offering a home shortcut for daily tasks makes a lot of sense. Likewise, if your app has a limited vocabulary, if your domain has a limited vocabulary, make it easy to use. Sound hounding is not how your users talk. Accept it and leverage the user's current mental models instead of trying to change them. Meet them halfway. So let's make it dead simple when things go right. What about when things go wrong? Design the sad path. Don't disappoint users with nothing, especially when there is actually something, like the example of the sneakers query, where I'm understood and it shows me nothing. The fact nothing is displayed should be a red flag for the developers. Contrast that on Lyra. When I asked her, what's the distance from my house to the moon? It told me, well, I don't know your home address, but this is the distance from Earth to the moon. And that's a good enough approximation. It's even better. It helps me get back on track. When I ask her, what's the weather like? Lyra tells me, I don't know your location right now. Where would you like the forecast for? It helped me really go to the last mile and get what I'm looking for. Finally, if you don't know how to answer, it's okay. Pass the bucket to someone who does, either using an API or by leveraging Intents and all the other installed apps on your user's device. So once we apply these principles, our user now feel in control of their usage. What's the next challenge? The icing on the cake is to make them feel pleasure, to delight our users. And from our journey, we've seen that a first source of pleasure when using these applications is feeling powerful. But it's hard to do everything in-house, so we should leverage the ecosystem. Don't go alone. There's nothing more disappointing than hearing, I can't do that. And users today, it's a new interface. They don't really know what they can ask. So they're going to ask more than what your app can handle on its own. Leverage any backend that can make it more useful. You can do it within the app. And that's the case for powerful APIs like Wolfram, Twilio, Algolia. You can also do it beyond the app, using implicit intents or leveraging system features that might still be what the user is looking for. Now, the final piece of our puzzle is the cherry on the cake that you can put in your app. And it's a persona. A persona will be anthropomorphizing the app, treating it like a human. And we all do this instinctively. That's why I say this clicker doesn't want to work instead of doesn't work. We are quick to project personalities in the thing we interact with. That's true in general. That's even more frequent in voice. Whenever I speak to something and the thing speaks back to me, I kind of project a personality on it anyway, even if the developer of the system didn't intend to. So be conscious. Give your app a persona or not. How human-like do you want it to be? It's an opportunity to connect and to be remembered. But it's also a challenge. Whenever I speak to something and the thing speaks back to me, instinctively, I treat it like a small child, like a 4-year-old that can already have some of a conversation. And so if your app is dumber than a 4-year-old, you probably don't want to make it human-like. And it's fine. Go for a cyberpunk assistant that's going to be a bit kitsch and sometimes answers very odd. It doesn't make the promise of being human. But if you want to do that, go big and be remembered. See how Alice creates an emotional attachment because she becomes my personal teacher. So let's summarize a bit. This is what makes our app successful. They're accessible to everyone. Users are in control when using it, and they enjoy during the ride. Most of the advice we saw today was about accessibility. And it makes sense. The night is young. We're discovering a new technology. The more the ecosystem will mature, the more we will go higher in the hierarchy of our users' needs, and will be more and more about control, and ultimately about pleasure. So here we are. This is the end of our journey. We explored a brave new world. We looked at unknown animals. We had a few chats with them, and the interactions felt familiar. Because the means might be different, but the goal is the same, to serve our users. Looking at the current trends, voice interfaces are here to stay, and they have the potential to transform our industry. If we carefully apply solid design principles to designing our next apps, the sky is the limit. I'm sure that some of you will create amazing voice applications by leveraging these principles, and I can't wait to see your voice projects on stage next year. Thank you. So we'll have a bit of time for questions, but before that, here are 3 links that might come in handy. The first one will get you the slides of this presentation, in case some of them might be useful to you. The second link, probably in a few days or a couple weeks, we will be able to find a recording of this talk, and I hope that it can serve you. Finally, we're Algolia. We just raised $110 million, and being an engineering team in Paris, we're doing great mobile engineering, and I'm looking for great coworkers. Come talk to us. And now, any questions, welcome.
How do you test? Oh, I'm sorry. How do you test such kind of apps automatically?
Sorry, how do I test?
Voice input in an automated fashion.
Oh,
Is it possible?
by isolating myself and talking to it.
So you manually record some voice inputs and you replay them?
Oh, you talk about automated testing?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, definitely. So you're right. In this case, you want to go recording. You can look up the nice people from 169 Labs. They are a voice UX agency in Berlin. And they've been building kind of an automated testing setup, which is a Google Assistant device, a headphone that is just in front of the device, so it plays the samples without your office being bothered. And because the device will play back, they put all of that in a nice, how do you call that? You know the glassware where you could put a candle in it? Well, they isolate the sound, and now you can run unit tests, expect an answer, and nobody's bothered that there's a weird bot talking all time in the office. Okay. But I think mostly you want to go user testing first. Like unit testing these in production is the end game. But first, let's design carefully, and let's just have conversations with someone else in the team and see if the interaction makes sense.
Yeah, but when your app evolves, you need to test for regressions.
Indeed, and
so
that's
you have
where
to spend 3 weeks talking to your app every week, every
indeed.
iteration.
So this is where automated testing is handy, even if today you need a bit of hardware for that.
Thank you.
Anyone else has any question? Questions? I just want to know, like, which, how do you unit test the voice? I'm just a beginner, so
Yeah, good
I
question.
want to know, yeah.
So you need to automate it in a way. So probably you're gonna record yourself. Then, as always with unit tests, you're gonna have scenarios where you expect something to happen. Probably the something will be happening back in voice. But most of the tooling for building voice application, they give you first the text and then speech to text the output in audio form. So what I would do is I would input, and maybe the input even can be text actually, because most of the time, all of these apps, they do text, speech to text, text processing, reply from the bot, and text to speech to voice the answer. So you might be able, if it's your own app, to just avoid all of this fuzz and simply input the text, get the answer as a conversation, but as text, and check that there is this or that in it.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Does anyone else have any questions? No?